Am I loud? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
All right, I'll start off by reading the script. Today is Wednesday, August 5th, 2020, an executive session of the Urban Renewal.
We're in regular session right now. Sorry. This is the regular Urban Renewal Commission meeting.
Okay, well then I guess I'll just call the roll and say we're in a regular Urban Renewal Commission meeting. Katie, if you call the roll, we'll get started.
Yes, sorry about that. So today is August 5th and it is 6:30. The roll will begin with Commissioner Rocky Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Present.
Commissioner Rachel Lau Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Sean Cross.
Here.
Commissioner Dan Holliday.
Here.
And Chair Frank O'Donnell.
Here. So tonight on the agenda, we're going to discuss potentially entering into a contract with the agency to provide some urban renewal services. Also, at some point during this meeting, I want to enter into another discussion later in the meeting where I introduce the topic of potentially moving forward with paying off all or part of the urban renewal debt. But for now, I'd like Mr. Conkle will introduce tonight's subject matter and give us a briefing, and then we'll speak on the matter.
Thank you, Chair O'Donnell, evening commissioners. So we bring before you the approval of the personal service agreement with Leland Consulting Group. The Urban Renewal Commissioners, stakeholders, and some members of the general public expressed reservations about the Urban Renewal District, and it has been utilized in the past, and whether urban renewal is a program to continue in the city in the future. The Urban Renewal Commission directed the manager to distribute a request for proposals to facilitate a public process that provides an opportunity for the community to learn about urban renewal, provide input about the program, and explores whether the district should or should not be used as a development strategy moving forward. So this was brought forward back to you back in March. At that point, we had worked through the proposed scope of work. We had the contract ready to go, and then COVID was just ramping up, and we were about to declare the emergency. So the commission directed the staff to postpone this and bring it back at a later date. We felt that, we know what COVID is at this point. We're moving forward with other public engagement processes as we transfer from in-person meetings to utilizing other technologies. So we were bringing this back in an effort to move forward with this project, realizing that the public engagement can be done while it will be a different form, that we can accomplish that. So the other thing that I'd like to point out, and I do apologize, we had an issue with the personal service agreement. We've uploaded the new personal service agreement, which replaces the City of Oregon City throughout the document with the Urban Renewal Agency of Oregon City. So this is a contract between Leland and the Urban Renewal Agency for these services on the Urban Renewal District Public Engagement Plan. And Mr. Graham,
go ahead. Sorry, Tony.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Mr. Graham, is there anything else you'd like to add, or at this point?
Just that, obviously, with COVID-19, we are moving into a virtual participatory process with the community and yourselves being directly involved. So phase one is pretty much that type of activity. And it ends with a summary of public engagement outcomes, and with a preliminary project list, cost estimates, and a decision whether or not to go forward with part two. So that's in essence what's in the agreement. So if you agree tonight, it starts on August 6th and ends March 31st, 2021.
Okay, as chair of the meeting, I will entertain comments from any of the commissioners. If you raise your hands, I have visibility on the raised hand screen.
I'm looking at the contract and not on this.
Commissioner Rock, acknowledging Commissioner Rocky Smith.
So first of all, I have a question. This is something that is budgeted in urban renewal and in our city budget, is that correct? Or is it just one?
Just urban renewal, sir.
Okay. So if we remember at the beginning of the year, I actually voted against the city budget and the urban renewal budget because of this topic. The concern that I have is not the process of the public input. I think that we clearly need a process where the public can kind of, be both educated, but also let us know what they believe the future of urban renewal should be or not be in Oregon City. So I really believe, and I've always believed that that conversation has needed to happen. The problem is the voters told us not to spend a dime on urban renewal, and that's what we're doing in order to do this process. And so I can't support it, and that's why I've pretty much voted no on everything since this commission, this Urban Renewal Commission has been going since the beginning of this last year or more. Until we really, it's kind of a complicated situation to be in, because in order to move on, we need to go through a process. But I don't see how we can do that when we're spending money that the citizens told us not to spend. So that is still my concern, and I don't really know how to deal with that because clearly we can't go through this process for free.
Chair recognizes Mayor Holliday.
So once again, I go back to the courts, and the fact is the courts have said that what happened with urban renewal cannot be done inside the city's charter. So seems to me to be responsible, knowing that urban renewal is an important tool for us to use, that we at least spend this money to find out what the public really thinks, because I think they were lied to and misled during that election process.
That concludes Mayor Holliday's statement. Are any other commissioners wish to make a statement before I do?
Yes, Chair O'Donnell, I'm looking at you on one screen and looking at something else on the other screen, so I don't have my hand.
Well, we can't raise our hands.
Yeah, we can't raise our hands anyway, so.
Okay, then please proceed.
Thank you. I support what Commissioner Smith said. I support this process. As you know, I worked with the city manager on the very beginning part of this, and I feel very strongly about us moving forward with this. However, I would like to ask the city manager whether or not, in keeping with the spirit of the ballot measure, is there a way that the city of Oregon City can loan the agency the money on a temporary basis so that we don't run afoul of anyone saying that we are spending money that we are not authorized to? And I'm not going to get into the debate about whether the ballot measure was valid or what the public did or didn't do. I understand what the intent of the community was. I did not support that particular ballot measure, but that's regardless of that. Can we do that?
Well, for the previous biennium's budget, the city's general fund paid the bills of the district, to which in this current biennium, we paid back the general fund for those expenditures based on the circuit court's decision.
Right.
Related to how money can be spent. We are spending money from an adopted urban renewal budget right now. We have been for the last year since it was put in place. So I'm not sure if that accomplishes anything at this point. In essence, we're loaning money that the district is responsible to pay back anyway.
Well, I mean, we do have members of our community that some feel lukewarm about this, others feel very strongly about it, and I felt that I had adequately justified my position with these citizens when I voted to support the Urban Renewal Agency paying the city back for the just routine and ordinary maintenance. We weren't spending it on projects, we weren't spending it on grants, we weren't spending it. This was just to keep the agency operating, which would be normal under any other circumstances. So I supported that, and I explained why I supported that. So that was basically the reason. This is a little bit of a hybrid. It's not necessarily a project, but I agree with Commissioner Smith that we do need to know the answers to these questions, and it's something that I have long advocated for. And, you know, I support us moving forward. I just wanted to see if there was a little workaround. I'm not concerned about having to justify my vote on this if someone says, well, you're spending urban renewal money.
I cannot see Commissioner Rachel Lyle Smith. If she chooses to make a comment at this time, I'll acknowledge her.
Thank you. I understand Commissioner Smith's comment, and this was a hot topic when we were campaigning for our seats. I do believe that there were a number of missteps in the urban renewal, by the Urban Renewal Agency, which led to the result of the people of the city. And I also believe it's coupled with probably not a clear understanding of urban renewal. I think there's a lot of things that led to the vote and the results of that vote. So I completely understand. If Mr. Graham were presenting to me a list of urban renewal projects, I absolutely would not be entertaining spending any money on any projects, because I believe that we need to go through this process. And I think I like that the scope of work has clearly laid out that at the end, it hasn't ignored the fact that there is an option to close the urban renewal district, and that is a potential option, that is a potential outcome of this process. And it's not hiding that fact, it's being very transparent about that, and that we are trying to do a comprehensive and transparent review of the Urban Renewal Agency and how urban renewal is used in the city, while at the same time educating ourselves, educating our community, and having a discussion of how urban renewal could potentially benefit our city. I think there's been some good things from urban renewal. I think it could be a great thing for our city. And there's obviously been some, like I said, some missteps. So with all of that said, I like the scope of work. I believe that the consultant took our comments from the March meeting and revised the scope and made it align with our intentions of what we said in March. So I thank them for that. So overall, I think the personal services agreement looks really good. I will say one thing that would be really helpful, or would have been more helpful, would have been to see a timeline of where all the things overlap, because it's laid out in the agreement in a very linear way, but the timeline jumps around all through it, so it's kind of hard to follow. You have to look for the education pieces, or the pieces where our commission is fitting in, like on the second or third page, and it's actually overlapping with stuff that's on the first page of the scope, and so you kind of have to figure that out. But once I got there, I was convinced that it did meet the intent of what we originally said and laid out in March. So for all of those reasons, I support this project and spending urban renewal dollars. But like I said, I do want to be very clear. I support Commissioner Smith and what he said. And if the only hesitancy I have is the fact that there's a piece of the scope that talks about potential projects, and I feel like that may be a little cart before the horse before we just actually decide what to do with the district. So, but other than that, I think the scope looks good.
I don't see his name listed here, but I see Mr. Sean Cross, I believe, sitting there. Would he like to comment?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues. I just hope that through the process, if we do this, that if it comes to option A, we do option A. If it leads to option B, we do option B. We don't start coming up with more reasons or ideas of why we need to, no, we didn't like option B, but we really like option A. That we take this process very seriously, and then we just follow where it comes to. We don't have any predetermined outcome of it. Mm-hmm. That's all I really have.
Thank you. I do see the mayor's hand up again. Would you like to be acknowledged, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Conkle, do we have any legal opinion as far as whether the Urban Renewal Agency can spend money right now?
True. I'd have to go back. So we have a Clackamas County Circuit Court decision that struck down the voter initiative that limited the expenditure of TIF funding to only paying down debt. So that does not exist. So you have an adopted budget with expenditures within it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
That pretty much answers my question. So the fact is for all intents and purposes, legally, the vote never happened. So moving on from that, I support moving forward with this process so we can find out what the citizens of Oregon City really think about urban renewal. And until they're educated and we get some more feedback, so we a thing at the north end that we're going to have to deal with, and without urban renewal funding, that's going to be a very, very challenging project.
Before I proceed, I want to acknowledge a submittal by former Mayor John Williams, and it has to do with his concerns about spending money. I believe we've touched upon it a number of times. It's more in keeping with what Commissioner Rocky Smith said. I don't know. I'll invite either Mr. Parno or our city manager if they care to comment on it. If they do not, then I'll make my statement. So I'll give you a moment to decide if you wish to comment on former Mayor John Williams' letter. Apparently, the commission feels that the answer has been provided in a previous discussion, so I'll give you my thoughts on this.
Yes.
I feel we sit here with two of our positions still remain unfilled, and I'd like to get that done before we move forward, because this commission should be in its entirety. I think embarking on this arrangement with this provider is premature. I honestly would like to first just do a simple televised work sessions and review our options in terms of modification, closure, projects of which there are currently none. And one of the arguments against this, the collection of funds and continuing collection of funds, is that we don't have any current project. As it said, this is not currently project-based. Now, we can talk about that in terms of future projects. But what troubles me about this proposal, as I read it, it was an either-or proposal. The first part is either, it almost looks like a marketing proposal for urban renewal at a cost in excess of $80,000. And then the or word comes in there. It's not both, it's either or we do have a whole different discussion about closure, which that troubles me. I thought it should all be one discussion and one educational presentation. So I don't like the $70,000 to $80,000 expenditure. I take note of what Commissioner Rocky Smith said, and we can, if that concludes our conversation, I can tell you I'm going to vote no. But if we're ready for a vote, I'll call for a vote unless there's further comment.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes, sir.
I'd make a motion to approve the personal services agreement with Leland Consulting Group.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Wait just a second, Chair O'Donnell.
You had for public comment or for this item?
Well, it ties to this item.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I thought it was just for public comment. So I apologize. We have a citizen comment.
Please
Hold on, Doug, hold on.
Doug?
So, Chair, we had a citizen comment. It was Mayor Doug Neely. Would allow him to speak?
Certainly.
Okay.
I would.
First of all, I'm Doug Neely, Oregon City. First of all, I'm sorry for the confusion. I saw public comment listed first. However, and I was going to speak at that point, but it ties to what you're talking about. We've had this COVID-19 outbreak has affected businesses in the Urban Renewal District. Many of them are struggling. Some of them have already gone out of business. Some of them are trying to revamp. Some of them are opening it up again. And I heard no new projects. I think it would be very good if the Urban Renewal District could function in some way to provide no interest, low interest loans to some of these businesses so that we don't lose them. I mean, the idea for, of course, this urban renewal district was to economically uplift it, which we did. But it's going the other way. And so when you say no new projects, I wish you would consider that piece in your decision-making, because I think it's an important mechanism. And so that was going to be my comment. It turns out it fits into your discussion here.
Thank you.
Chair, thanks former Mayor Neely for his comments. I think it's a valid conversation to have. If the criteria is to address blighted areas and to increase the value of a specific area of the city, I think it's a conversation we can have, and I appreciate Mayor Neely introducing it. Does anyone else have further comments? Mayor Holliday, your hand back up again, or is it still up?
No, it's back up again. Thank you, sir. While I appreciate Mayor Neely's comments, the problem I have with that is fundamental fairness, and that is that there are businesses that are in the urban renewal district that we could provide money to, but there are many, many, many more that are not, that we couldn't. So while I appreciate the idea, I'm not sure I can support that.
Understood, and I appreciate Mayor Holliday's comments. If there's no further discussion, we
Chair
have a
O'Donnell.
motion on the floor.
Sir.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can't see you, so go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So just a point on that. I understand where Mayor Holliday is coming from on that particular issue, and we find ourselves in a very unique circumstance that we did not anticipate finding ourselves in. With the programs that we've had in the past in our urban renewal district, we were able to give funding and help support businesses within that district, whereas we were not in areas that were not in the urban renewal district. So what former Mayor Neely is suggesting is not anything different than what we have done in the past. I understand the COVID issue is a completely different topic, and I think I've been very strong in my support of the debt relief program that we have had, and hopefully we'll be successful with round 3, and people and businesses will be able to apply for round 3 that are not necessarily within the urban renewal boundary, but within our city limits. So this really is, I take to heart what you say, and again, many of you know my experience. I've worked for a very successful urban renewal agency, and I've had the experience of working in one that was not so successful, and that was not Oregon City, because at the time I was here, we did a lot of really good work with red soils. So there is a difference, and I support what Commissioner Lyle Smith said. We have made some missteps, but I support this proposal, and I would like to see us move forward.
Call a question.
Chair recognizes Mayor Holliday.
Call a question.
Oh, call the question. I'm calling the question.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to approve the contract as is, and I will call the roll, beginning with Commissioner Denise McGriff.
Aye.
Commissioner Sean Cross.
Aye.
Commissioner Rachel Lau Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Rocky Smith.
No.
Commissioner Commissioner Dan Holliday.
Aye.
And Chair Frank O'Donnell.
No. So the motion fails. I mean, the motion passes.
Passes,
excuse me.
yes.
Yes. Whoa.
Motion passes. I would like a moment to introduce an upcoming subject to just brief the commission on something they'll be seeing in the next meeting. Would that be acceptable? The discussion that will be forthcoming, and you will be receiving a report from Mr. Parno. The question will be posed. There'll be an analysis of our financial situation, our debt structure, what our assets are earning, what our liabilities are costing us in terms of interest income, what options we have for future funding of projects, even if we were to decide to pay off all or part of the date. So my message to my fellow commissioners is you will be receiving an in-depth report. We wanted time to give you a very in-depth report so you had time to digest it and not have to make decisions on short notice. So that's all I wanted to say about that. Is there any further business of this
Yes.
commission?
Yes,
I guess
please.
first, just want to clarify, is there a consensus on the commission to move forward with that?
I have a question about that, and then I have an item as Chair O'Donnell asked, an additional item. So could you give me a little background about where this is coming from? Your proposal?
I can be a driver on it.
Yeah, please
Tony, do
do.
you want to give us background?
I'll start and then you can finish whatever I miss here. So essentially, Commissioner Chair O'Donnell was asking about, because we've been respecting the ballot measure limitations, we've not been spending any urban renewal TIF that's been being generated on any projects, which means we've accumulated a significant amount of cash balance within that urban renewal budget. Historically, when interest rates were high, that was to our benefit. At this point, with interest rates being low relative to the interest that we're paying on the debt, is it time to have a discussion about should we pay down the existing debt because of the existing interest rate that we are paying interest on versus the interest we're receiving on the capital that we're holding? So that was the impetus of the discussion.
So we're talking about some of the debt, all of the debt, or that's part of the discussion?
That is part of the discussion.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just need, not that it came out of the blue, I was aware of it, but the timing was just interesting, so.
Yep.
And my second question is I would agree with you and I would like us to move forward. We have some applicants who have been bugging the heck out of me about when we're going to get around to completing the interviews for the urban renewal vacancy that we have, and I would like to support your suggestion that we move forward with that and get a full commission.
Is anybody not in support of that action? Okay, that answers that question.
So I guess I'm not hearing any, it sounds like the commission is supportive of both of those measures.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
I see your hand up, Mr. Mayor. Please proceed.
So while I certainly don't support closing the district, I absolutely support having the information so that we can see, what exists. So I'm fine with that.
Mr. Mayor, I concur with you on that.
Well, I think we have what we need in terms of a consensus. I want to tell you that I advanced the notion. It's simply housekeeping in the absence of an immediate project, with our money earning close to zero and our debt. You'll be surprised at what our yearly debt is. I asked Mr. Parno to investigate the multiple loans that we may have and what the timing is to pay those off. There may be some restrictions on when we can pay them off, how soon, or even if we choose to pay them off. But I think it's good household management, much like if I owed $10,000 on a car and it's costing me 4% and had $20,000 earning nothing, I might want to pay that loan off. And that was the simple economics of it. So look forward to getting a more in-depth report, and then we can decide it. I believe on the 19th we'll have include that as part of our discussion, and I'm sure Mr. Parno will be more than informative. Mr. Mayor, I see is your hand up again, and anew, or is it a leftover?
No, sorry. I'm used to somebody moderating the meeting. It takes my hand down when I'm done asking questions.
Okay.
But let me say one other thing, because I think we're done here.
We are.
We're going to, at the executive sessions, we're going to add another item. So we're going to push the city commission meeting back probably 15 minutes or half an hour. So just to let you know and let folks at home know.
Agreed. It's a very compact schedule with a lot of entries. Let's move on. Let's take a few-minute break. What would you like?
Wait.
Sorry, can we get the approval of the minutes from March 18th and April 1st, 2020, please?
I'd like to move that we approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Done. Anything else, Mr. Conkle?
Well, we have an executive session for the Urban Renewal District scheduled. Would the Urban Renewal District like to have that executive session, or because we are obviously running late, postpone that and find another date for that?
Just do it. I'm gonna take that long.
Let's go ahead and do it. But let's try to do it as quickly as we can.
Understood. We will get it ready.
So does that mean
Where does that fall in the queue?
Ms. Riggs is going to get the interviews set up soon?
Okay, we'll work on the interviews.
Okay.
Let's.
So let's take Chairman O'Donnell, if you don't mind, let's take like 3 minutes, and then we'll move into the urban renewal executive session. That gives staff time to do whatever they have to do.
How many minutes?
Very good.
3.
Oh, I thought he said 30. I was gonna say, what?
Okay.
No.
Pay attention. Okay, let's
It's
do that.
hard to
3
hear,
minute
it's
break.
hard to hear him.
No comment. 3
All
minute
right.
break and then we'll be adjourned. We'll reconvene.
Right.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye.